I'm Claudio Orlandi, and I'm a cryptographic protocol designer, I guess, at Partisia blockchain, and associate professor at Oz University, working with cryptographic protocol for the last 15 years, I think, of my life, dreaming of these things at night. And I was not completely sure what the audience would be today, so feel free to ask questions, or if the level is not appropriate, feel free to give me feedback. But I thought I was going to warm up the scene for Ivan by introducing some concepts which you probably have heard before, but maybe try to put some perspective in this idea, this term zero knowledge that we use so much, and how it connects to some of the other concepts you might be aware of, digital identity, proofs, signatures, maybe even verifiable computation. So let's start with something that maybe everyone is familiar with, right? Something we do every day is that we have to prove possession of our digital identity. So, I mean, we are on our computer, we want to log into our email address or something like that, right? And the way we do this today, most of the time, is that the server would ask you, who's there? And then you would reply with your username, hello, I'm Claudio. And to prove that you are who you claim you are, you will be revealing your password. In this case, my password has been chosen very carefully.
Does that work?
It works most of the times. And if you think about this, this is a very weird way of proving possession of a digital identity. I mean, your password is your most important secret. It's what proves that you're you. I mean, the server has some hash of your password, right? And the password is what is the credential, what proves that you are who you claim you are. And to prove that you have it, you're essentially revealing it over and over again, every day, over and over again, right? We do the same thing with credit card numbers, right? When you buy something online, you have this number, which is the secret thing which allows you to use your credit card, and the way you prove that you have it is by giving it away over and over again. There seems to be some kind of dissonance between the idea that these things are secrets, and they should, probably stay so, right? You shouldn't tell these things to a stranger, right? And on the other hand, you keep sending them over and over the internet to everyone who asks you. And different ways of authenticating ourselves that maybe it's increasing in popularity is this two-factor authentication, right? And here you can think of you're sitting at your computer, and the server is asking you, okay, who's there? And then maybe this is your phone number, and then to prove possession of this phone number, what the server will do is sending you some kind of one-time token, one-time password, right? That will be sent to your phone, and then you can send it back. And if you think about this, this is already quite different from the first scenario, because here what you're doing is you're not, the secret you're revealing, I mean, the thing you send to the server to prove that you actually own this phone number wouldn't allow the server to impersonate you, right? I mean, so this password, once you give the password to the server has everything that you have, right? You had the password, now the server has the password. But with the phone number, with this one-time password, what the server gets is just, the server already knew this number. I mean, the server, in some sense, is not learning anything new. The server is sending you a number, and then you're sending this number back. So the server didn't learn anything in this interaction, you could say, right? The server only learned that you actually were able to read this number out of this phone. But in some sense, the server is not learning anything new, and this is, of course, very informal and very high level. But in some sense, authenticating yourself via a two-factor authentication, via a one-time password that the server sends to you, has this flavor of this zero-knowledge property that I'm going to talk about, much more than authenticating yourself with a password, because here the server is learning something new, your password. Here the server is learning something that they gave it to you. So in some sense, they haven't learned anything new from the interaction. Well, except the fact that you are able to control this phone, right? So yeah, another concept that I guess everyone is familiar with, right? This is otherwise it's a problem. I mean, digital signatures are the way we transfer funds, especially in the blockchain environment, right? And what is a digital signature? Like in the good old days, you would write, how do you transfer funds? I mean, you take a piece of paper and you write, I give 100 euro to Ivan, and then you're welcome. And then you sign, right? And what is a signature? A signature is something that only I can sign, because I'm the only one that has this handwriting, meaning that no one else can produce this, and this is what's known as unforgeability, right? Everyone can verify this transferability property, and then you cannot deny this signature, right? I mean, if I say this was not me, someone who has a PhD, I guess, in calligraphy, they can come and check my signature and say, yeah, this actually was your signature. They can check it against some other public version of my signature I publish in some repository, and then they can say it was me, right? And when you move from real, from old world signature to digital signatures, you kind of have the same scenario, right? You have some secret key, your password, which is the thing that only you know and you can use to sign, and there is some public key, which sounds like your username, which is something that everyone can use to verify your signature. And then, of course, using your secret key, you can sign some message. Then you can transmit this message and the signature to anyone else, for instance, post it on the blockchain, and then everyone can verify that it was indeed you that signed this message. And if you think about it, what is a digital signature, right? A digital signature is really a way to prove that you own this secret key, right? It's a way of proving that the owner of this secret key has approved of this message. So every time you sign, a signature in some sense is a proof of possession of this secret key. But of course, it's not like like in the example of the password, right? Sending out the password was a bad idea because now everyone knows the password. Signing by revealing your secret key would also be a bad idea, right? Because if signing meant publishing your secret key on the blockchain, then anyone could steal your money, right? So that doesn't seem like a good idea. So probably this signature needs to hide to some extent your secret key, right? So a signature must be some function of the secret key which reveals, let's say zero knowledge, or at least very little bit amount of knowledge about your secret key, such that someone that sees your signature cannot come back to your secret key. So many of the tools you already use and you're familiar with already have this property of these hiding properties, at least that's maybe to a very informal extent these zero knowledge properties. Right. So here the important thing, of course, is that when you reveal the signature, the verifier should not be able to use the signature to approve transactions which you didn't approve of, right? And when we move, and if we want to think about how we move from signature to zero knowledge proofs, a not very precise but perhaps informative analogy is that zero knowledge proofs, which is something I want to talk a little bit about, because historically this, or I guess also pedagogically, comes easily before MPC, right? Before you talk about MPC, you usually talk about zero knowledge proofs. So zero knowledge proof in some sense are some kind of generalization of digital signatures. But where instead of saying, instead of being proof of possession of a secret key, they can be proofs of possession of something much more complicated. So the statement you can prove can be much more complicated. It's not just, I know a secret key, but it could be, for instance, hey, there are two encryptions here, there are these two ciphertexts, and these two ciphertexts contain the same value. Maybe because I'm making some encrypted transfer, and I want to make sure that the amount of money I add here is the same as the amount of money that I'm reducing here. So I want to prove that these two values are the same. Or maybe we are in some kind of anonymous credentials mechanisms where you want to register to a service that is age restricted, or you want to buy some product which is age restricted, but you don't want to reveal your age because why would you want to reveal your age if you just need to prove that you're over 18? So maybe your age is encoded in some maybe in your passport, or maybe in some on a blockchain, right? And maybe you want to prove that the age which is encoded inside this, or is encrypted or encoded inside this digital object is more than 18, right? So I'm allowed to use certain service. Or maybe it could also be something even more, I guess meta, like maybe you're proving that you've seen a signature, but you don't want to reveal the signature yet. So in somewhat informally and not very precisely. So if you ever come and do an exam with me, don't say this, but in a very in a very informal way, but perhaps intuitively appealing. Zero knowledge proofs can be seen as this generalization of signatures, these signatures on steroid, which allow you to prove complex statements. And what is a zero knowledge proof? I guess those are like some basic notions, but like usually you have a prover and a verifier. The prover has some secret X. This could be like my password, right? And then the verifier has something that they want to verify about your password. Maybe they want to verify that the hash of your password is equal to some hash they have stored there, or something like this, right? And then the way zero-knowledge proofs, or at least interactive proofs, work is that the verifier asks you questions, and then you can reply to this question with some answers. So there might be several rounds of interaction. Some zero-knowledge proofs are non-interactive, but I guess for this example, let's do it like this, where the verifier can ask you some questions, and then the prover can answer these questions in such a way that if the prover really knows the secret, then the verifier will be persuaded that X is really the preimage. Of course, it's very easy to do this. Just send X, and that would be fine. So I guess we want to ask a few more questions, right? So yeah, I mean, if both parties are honest, the verifier should accept. I guess that's easy. Of course, something we want is that we want strong guarantees, right? I mean, only if the prover knows the secret, the verifier should be convinced, right? I mean, you can't, like with a signature, right? You cannot sign unless you know the secret key. So in this case, you cannot persuade the verifier unless you really know the secret. And then, and this maybe should hold even if the verifier asks you, malicious questions, bad questions. So the verifier, if the prover doesn't know the secret, then this shouldn't work. And then, I guess the king of the properties of a zero-knowledge proof is zero knowledge, which says that the verifier learns nothing about the secret, right? And this is really the core of what we do here. I mean, making sure that private information stays private. So if this secret was your age, right, or your date of birth, that should stay secret, right? Maybe you want to reveal that it's over 18. That's the only thing should be revealed. If this is your password, the password should stay secret, and so on. And this should hold, even if the verifier asks you, malicious questions. So this might be a bit abstract. So let's. I wanted to give like first what can be proven in zero knowledge. So first of all, it's important to remember that everything that can be proven in zero knowledge, which is very surprising thing, which is more than as a theoretical fact is more than 30 years old. But then, of course, the question is how efficiently can we do in practice, and can we build something on top of this, right? And this has been a very active area of research in the last 30 years. And recently, of course, if you've been following what's going on in the cryptographic research and environment, a lot has happened in the area of zero-knowledge proofs. Some of the keywords are Sigma protocols, which are like the classical protocols, zero-knowledge protocols we have from the 90s and the 2000s. And then, since, I guess, 2010 and on, the area of succinct proofs has exploded, and these and snarks and zero-knowledge snarks have become more and more prominent. And then there is MPC in the head also, which is a way of constructing zero-knowledge proofs from MPC. And even though in the previous slide you had this question answer back and forth between the proof and the verifier, most of the proofs that we use today, I guess, are like non-interactive. I guess in some sense, you can simulate the verifier in some way, but I will not get there. But non-interactive zero-knowledge proofs are interesting because they're a bit closer to a signature in which you can put them, you can publish them maybe on a blockchain, right? And they can also be transferred. So if I give you a proof of a certain thing, like if I show you that I'm over 18, you can take this proof and maybe send it to someone else to prove to them that when you sold me this item, you had verified that I was over 18, and they would also be persuaded. Right. So I just want to give like a very quick and dirty intuition for how you could be building a zero-knowledge proof, right? Because otherwise it sounds a bit too abstract. So let's say that the prover has some secret X, right? And the verifier wants to check again that this X satisfies some property. For instance, that the value of X is equal Y. Yeah, and these examples are the same I was talking about before. Let's say, I'm over 18, or this is the password. How could we be proving this in zero knowledge? So, yes. So, an intuitive and not very precise way of how you could do this is that you could be looking at this computation, this function f, as a computation here. Like some computation where you have some secret values, and then you add them, you multiply them, you do something to these values, right? So I guess this could be your hash function that takes your password and then outputs the hash of the password. So the prover claims to know some input here which produces the right output. So the prover can simply write the computation down on a piece of paper, let's say. So I mean, the prover knows all the input bits here, right? And then the prover can do all the computation on all the gates and put all the values on all the wires of this circuit and do this computation on a piece of paper. And then what the prover can do is that it could like hide one by one all the operation of these gates. So this hiding could be, like you could be encrypting every gate one by one, or you could be hashing them, or something like that, right? So now everything is hidden now, and now I can send you all of these blobs, all of these hidden gates. I can send them to you as a way of committing to this computation that I've done. Maybe I put this inside some envelopes, right, and I send them to you. And then you, who are the verifier, you're going to challenge me. You're asking me, OK, I don't believe that you did this computation correctly. To challenge me, you can say, show me what you did on this gate, right? So now I can open this envelope, or I can open this encryption, or this hash, and I can show you that indeed I did this computation correctly, right? The input was 0, 0 times 0 is 0, so you're persuaded that this operation was correct. Only this one, right? You don't know anything about the rest, but you get a little confidence, right? So clearly, I mean, this protocol, if I was honest and I did the computation correctly, also this gate would be correct, so you would be happy, right? Do you get confidence that I really had the right password? Well, if I had the wrong password, at least one of these gates would have to be inconsistent, right? I had to cheat in at least one of these gates, right? So with some probability, you ask me for the right gate, and then you found out that I cheated, so you would be, I would be caught, and then you would be say, no, you don't know the password, right? Of course, one gate out of many is not really good, so we need to find some ways of amplifying these and make sure that, if I cheated, then, you will catch me with very high probability. I'm not going to talk about that. I want to focus more on zero knowledge. Because clearly this technique is also not very zero knowledge, right? You actually are learning something, right? I mean, for instance, if you were asking for this gate here, right, you would be learning already maybe 2 characters of my password, right? So this doesn't look very zero knowledge. Or you could be learning something here. So how could you make this zero knowledge? So again, the problem of this was that every time the verifier looks at one of these gates, right, he learns a little bit of information about my password or about this computation I made. So we need a way of transforming this computation into a computation which hides what we are doing. So the idea is that we can take a gate, like we can take this circuit, and transform it into a different circuit which reveals no information about the input. And we're going to do so using something which Ivan is also going to mention later, which is called secret sharing. So let's say my password is 3 and 2, and 5 is the hash of the password. I want to prove you that I know 2 numbers that sum to 5. It's not a very hard thing to prove, but let's just for an example, right? So my 2 numbers are 3 and 2, and the sum is 5. That's my claim. Instead of proving this, I'm going to prove something different. I'm going to start with, I'm going to take my 3, and I'm going to secret share it into 2 random numbers. So I'm going to pick a random number here, let's say 5, and then here I'm going to put -2, which is the other number, such that 5 minus 2 is equal to 3. Now, the interesting thing is that both 5 and -2 on their own, they contain no information about 3, right? You need to put them together to get back the information to 3. And I'm going to do the same thing with 2, right? So with 2, I'm maybe secret sharing it with 1 and 1. So the idea is that, now this number 5 leaks no information about 3, and this number 1 leaks no information about 2. So if you were looking here, right, you would have no information about the original input. So now I can do the computation with this, and this is secret sharing. So now I can do the computation with this circuit instead, and now this circuit is equivalent to this circuit, except that this circuit is zero knowledge. Meaning that now I can do this, for instance, I could be doing this many, many times, right? I have 3 and 2 and 3 and 2 in all of the circuits, and every time I choose different inputs that all, I secret share my 3 into 5 and -2 and 2 and 1 and -1 and 4 and so on, and then I can do the thing I was doing before, right? I mean, the secret sharing goes away. Now I hide all the gates one by one, and send them to you. And now you can challenge me to see if I did the computation correctly by asking me, please show me this gate, so you can see that, okay, I did the right thing here. Please show me this gate. Well, I also did the right thing here. Please show me this gate. I also did the right thing here. But seeing all of this information gives you nothing about 3 and 2, because all of these values are random and not correlated to each other. And of course, this is not very precise, but I was trying to convey the intuition. So this is how you could be building a zero knowledge proof. This is for Brian. I promised him I would talk about this, otherwise he gets mad. So one of the big applications of zero knowledge proofs today is this thing called verifiable delegation of computation, which in its original form says that you have some weak client, a phone, who wants to compute some function but doesn't have enough power to do it. So this server is going to go to this client is going to go to a powerful server and ask you, can you please do this computation for me? You're renting computing power on Amazon, or you are outsourcing some machine learning model to someone else. So the client would send f and x to the server, and then the server would compute the function for the client and send it back. Easy peasy, but maybe the server is lazy, right? Why should, energy costs a lot of money these days. Why should they do the computation for you? Maybe they always tell you for teach you, right? What do you know? You just get the output. How would you be ever, smarter than? Maybe the server is just always sending you the same output. Who cares? Something random. So one place in which we can put proofs is this, right? Because it would be great if you had a way of verifying that this computation was done correctly. So now this scenario is a bit different, right? The client sends f and x to the server computes y equal f of x, but the server also computes some proof that this output is correct. So now the server sends back y and the proof to the client, and now the client accepts this output y only if the proof is valid. Now, of course, there is something, this only makes sense if verifying this proof, it's easier than computing the function on your own. Otherwise, I just do the client could just recompute in the function. There is no need to outsource the computation, right? So there is this crucial property that this proof should be short and succinct. In the sense that it should be short and the verification should be easy. So some zero-knowledge proofs do have this property, this succinctest property. So this property that says that you can check the proof in time much less than it would take to do the computation yourself, which is an amazing property. It's really something, it's a great result in cryptography, and that's something that is truly amazing, that you can verify a computation using less resource than it would take to do it. But in this scenario, there is absolutely nothing with zero knowledge, right? Here, the client is not trying to hide anything from the server. The client is just trying to verify the correctness of the computation. So even though you can use zero knowledge proofs in this setting itself has nothing to do with zero knowledge. It has to do with verifying the correctness of a computation. It's a problem of integrity, not confidentiality. We're not hiding anything from the server. We just want to verify integrity of the computation. By chance, these zero knowledge proofs already have this property, so you can throw them here. And so this is for Brian. So one place in which you might have heard the word, the letter ZK is in the ZK rollup word. And here I have a bunch of tweets from a bunch of prominent cryptographers who have been working on zero-knowledge proofs all their life, and there's some of them I like, which I very like. Every day we stray further from God's light. None of these solutions are zero knowledge. And in this word, the acronym ZK is being used now to more and more often to say that something is compact. So that you have like a short you have a short proof that something is correct, but this has nothing to do with zero knowledge, as in hiding. It's just because it comes from the same set of technologies. Ian Myers, one of the founders of Zcash, and another researcher that has done a lot of work in zero knowledge proofs, there's some amazing work being done on zero knowledge virtual machines. The largest thing is that there is nothing zero knowledge about them. Sure, they use zero knowledge proofs under the hood for now, but they'll be used to compress computation that is public and make blockchain scale. So, zero knowledge virtual machine uses no zero knowledge. And Vitalik, who I guess you've heard of, says, proposal to satisfy pedantic cryptographers that zero knowledge in zero knowledge rollup no longer stands for zero knowledge, it stands for zip by cryptography. My friend Niels from Germany is like, was just desperate. It's a whole crypto thing all over again. Cryptographers have been frustrated by the fact that crypto, the cryptography versus cryptocurrency thing. And it seems that this is happening now again to ZK. Right. So where does that leave us? So I talked now about zero knowledge proofs, which is this word in which you have a prover and a verifier. Only the prover has a secret. The prover has a secret X, and the verifier wants to be persuaded that this X satisfies some property. It's the hash of the password. It's the age is over 18 or something like that. But importantly, there is only one secret in this word. It's X. X is the only secret in this word. What we want to talk about, and what Ivan is going to talk about now, is how do we go from zero knowledge proofs to zero knowledge computation, or MPC, which is, in some, which is this other world in which instead more than one party can have secrets. So in this world, both Alice and Bob have secrets xa and xb, and where they want to compute a function of their joint output, so y is equal to f of xa, xb, and where we want to hide not only the input of one party, but we want to hide the input of both parties. Because this is really where, zero-knowledge proofs, they stop here, right? They cannot take you here. If you want to go from here to here, where more than one party has secrets, you need to go beyond zero-knowledge protocols and talk about something else. I guess that was my time, so if anyone has some question.